You guys are running your business. We're coming in objectively, and we're helping several other entities on much different scales.
Small to mid-sized businesses, when you get in there, a lot of the things that we're seeing when we first work with individuals is they just don't have the clarity.
And from a owner or a CEO perspective, a lot of the value is working on the business, not having to dive into the business.
Most businesses I've been involved in, this is how it's done, is you think they're doing a good job based off how things are running. They show up every day. Sometimes they have to come to you and be like, hey, are we doing bonuses this year? How do you calculate that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? You just kind of make some shit up.
Welcome to Chasing Millions Podcast. I'm Eric.
And I'm Josh.
And today we have some special guests, M&G Financial.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for
We
having
got
us.
James and we got Ben.
Pleasure to be here.
So let's talk about M&G. Tell us a little bit about M&G and we can kind of go in why we wanted you on this podcast.
Yeah.
So what does M&G do?
M&G is a fractional CFO and accounting firm. And really the role that we play is we take that C-level executive on the financial portion of your business, and we can run that outsourced from the CFO level all the way down to a staff accountant. So for small to mid-cap companies, we come in and we help to create some clarity, provide guidance, systems, processes, and then manage the financials as they need to be managed from a CFO perspective.
Perfect. So M&G's here in our office today, working with Eric and I on our company, On Call Services and Rentals. We hired M&G. We have a great CFO, but we recognize that he's overloaded. Like many of you guys watching this show, they're overloaded. They have 1,000 tasks. They're typical small business, right? They're wearing 1,000 different
100%.
hats. So to hire another CFO or a controller, whatever gap filler you guys play today, it's expensive. So to your point, Ben, we're getting the level that we need of a detail and attention and financial advice, but at a fractional of the cost.
Correct.
Meaning they're not focused on our business 24/7 because we don't need it 24/7, and they have other clients.
Yep.
So to give you an example, M&G today helped us roll out a bonus structure for our executives, which we've never had. So they took all the data. How long did we work on that bonus structure?
I mean, collectively, we went through for the last 3 to 4 weeks, on and off, made sure we had it all buttoned up. We worked with each member of the executive team individually and collectively so that we could get to a shared goal here. And everybody had buy-in before we laid it out for everybody.
And it's nice having a third party like you guys coming in, which I never expressed this to you because there's no bias.
Correct. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's an independent thought process. There's no emotional involvement in here, which can play a part when you're rolling out bonuses.
Yeah, well, I say the biases definitely is a factor, but for us, and probably like other people that are watching this, really the structure of the bonus for where we're at in our growth of our company, we've never done it. We didn't have the bandwidth to do it.
Yeah,
right?
I didn't have the knowledge.
So we didn't have the knowledge to be able to do it, much less the bandwidth. So, for us, it's really refreshing. We knocked out the biases, right? And we have people that have done it, been there, done that. So we can bring somebody like you, or another company could bring somebody like you guys in here, or you for that matter. If they don't have the knowledge to do something, they can call somebody like you guys up, say, hey, we don't know how to do this. Can you guys help in this manner? And you're going to give them honest feedback and say, yeah, man, we just did something like that or whatever, and be able to come in here and not have a biases and be able to help grow our company with us alongside us as like a team member.
Well, to be honest with you, I was supposed to roll out a bonus program a year ago.
I wasn't going to bring that.
Didn't
wasn't
get
going to
there.
bring that
Yeah,
up.
I was supposed to roll this out a year ago. I kept telling her, it was like, where's the bonus program? I was like, oh,
Yes,
it's $5,000 check. Just
Throw some money at the issue.
It took us a year to figure out we didn't know how to do it. Pretty much.
That's pretty much what
I
he's
got a
saying.
lot of great opinions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So-
mean, listen, that's where we come into play is, again, to your point of you guys are running your business. We're coming in objectively, and we're helping several other entities on much different scale, from $100 million down to people that are just getting started, that all we're doing is helping them close the month and produce a P&L, right? So like we're seeing a grand scope of things. So for a small to mid-cap company, that's the struggles that you're going to have if you just have a bookkeeper and you just have an accountant and you're just getting P&Ls and you're sending stuff to your tax guy. That's the struggles you have. You don't really have a lot of visibility. You're trying to figure out these processes and procedures and how to keep people and retain people. And a lot of that's the human capital side of the business. That's what we take on. And at some point in time, we always tell this, we haven't phased anybody out, but at some point in time, we're going to recommend you phase us out because you're growing. But we want to come in and we want to help people, accelerate their growth through visibility and control of the financial portion of your business. You guys are drivers, right? I mean, you're entrepreneurs. You understand what you're doing. You understand the top line and bottom line of the business. It's us helping out in the middle section to really help you multiply on the hard work that you're doing on a day-to-day basis.
And our goal is, you guys well know, we have big goals and aspirations, but one of our goals is to grow through acquisition, and that's another thing that M&G is going to help us do.
Absolutely.
They set forth a plan of very detailed how we pay their fees, but their goal is to go there and help us acquire companies and not put so much stress on Gene and our finance team and help them integrate them into our business lines and our financial packages, etc. Speaking of financial packages, Ben, I know that you were probably the main driver while Ben was out drumming up some new business, right? Of dorking out on all of the numbers that we reviewed together. How important is it to have detailed finances that are accurate when you're coming into a business like us that's small?
Yeah, and so, I mean, small to mid-sized businesses, when you get in there, a lot of the things that we're seeing when we first work with individuals is they just don't have the clarity. They don't have vision, they don't have clarity, and they're just looking at everything historical, right? Your bookkeeper or your controller does a great job of maintaining the day-to-day. They come in there, they give you a P&L for last month, great. But you really want to be looking ahead as the business owners. And a lot of these clients that we're working with right now just lack that, right? And so what we do is we come in, we help develop that package for you. A lot of times the layout of your GL in QuickBooks is not valuable to you when you're just trying to look at a one-pager and get the financial health of the business. So that's what we do. We come in there, we help assess that, and then recapture some of those presentations so that you guys can start to look at that on a more forward-looking basis.
Yeah, and maybe to like the layman, like it's the health of your company, right? Like your profitability and how you capture that data is really the health of your company. And if I'm an owner, I want to know how strong my company is. Like, yeah, I'm getting a paycheck, but how secure am I this time next year? And you and I had this conversation earlier this morning, but it was, you kind of got to begin with the end in mind. And a lot of folks, they're reactive to their business and not proactive to their business. They're working in it, not on it. And from a owner or a CEO perspective, a lot of the value is working on the business, not having to dive into the business and being forward looking and modeling ahead and then tracking, having your thumb on your business and really knowing what's going on. It's very valuable.
And one thing that Ben and James really helped me out, I would say, is don't be afraid to bring somebody in there and look at your numbers. You want a third set of eyes, or fourth or fifth. A lot of people keep their finances so tight.
Sure.
And they can make some minor adjustments and get that second or third opinion. And you're like, dang, that really changed the bottom line. You know what I mean? And that's why I like dealing with Ben and James, because they look at so many different financials, I'm assuming. So you guys have so many different perspectives of what people are doing right and wrong, and personalities that you're dealing with, and different types of P&Ls and how they're organized, etc. So they were able to dissect what we do in our business lines. Luckily for us, as they both have been in these business lines before in the toilet business. But taking those numbers and I feel like that we have a really good CFO and our numbers were pretty accurate and organized. That wasn't the case a few years ago when Eric and I first started this. Not everybody starts out with a high-end CFO that can do that. We had a glorified bookkeeper, and it was chaotic, and it was a cluster, and it was disorganized and dysfunctional. But that's why we never had executive bonus rollout, because we didn't have accurate numbers to pay them off of. So it was nice. It was a breath of fresh air that said, here's the numbers. Here's where we want to go. Roll this out. Help us put this plan together, and help me roll this out.
Yeah, and I mean, for you guys, obviously we just laid out that executive bonus comp plan, but there was a lot of work that went into that, right? As you mentioned, You guys are great on the day to day. The financial information that you have in your books is extremely accurate. But what we just went through with a lot of our other clients too is annual planning season. And so we're taking that data from 2024 and we're rolling that into 2025. A lot of these owners, you want to see a rolling forecast. You want to make sure that you're looking ahead. And so what we did with you is we took that data, we built out that model for next year. We got buy-in from the entire team, and we built a comp plan based off of it. And so that's part of the services that we offer and really should be focusing on, because you have the individuals that are running the business, but you guys want to know what the future holds and then how that affects the strategic decisions you guys make.
Yeah, and the way you guys rolled out our executive bonus program is it was kind of, we had to put forth the 2025 budget. So it forced us to do the 2025 budget because the bonus structure was based off the budget.
Correct. Yeah.
Right? And the profit and et
And
cetera.
I'll flip it back to you for a second, because when we first talked about that, I think when we sat down originally, you said, I don't know about the budget. I think that, it's hard to predict the future and everything. And so how do you think, from your perspective, your mindset's changed?
I still think it's really tough to put an accurate budget on a high growth company, but what it did do, it forced our team to think about it.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, I like to expand on that. I think we had said it just nonchalantly when we were sitting around at a round table. But I mean, the biggest thing for me is, if you don't have a program like you guys, helped us get created and rolled out today, that there isn't a lot of cohesion in the group. Like there's no real great benefit for my sales guy to be watching operations or the operations to be looking deep into their bottom line expenses, right?
Yeah.
There really just wasn't. It was he's going to do it. He didn't get compensated for doing it. So you think they're going to do a whole lot of that if they don't get compensated for it, right? Driving dollars? No. Let's just be
That's
honest
exactly
with each
right,
other,
yeah.
right? So, it's not just good to be able to forecast. I think it's going to be great for us, but doing the model that you guys gave us, it's really going to bring the cohesion to the team, right? To where everybody, if somebody's not, it's one of the spokes in the wheel's broken, right? The other four spokes are probably going to be sitting down with that and going, hey, man, I want to get my bonus, right? So what do we need to do to help you? What, am I doing something wrong, right? So I think just the cohesion in general, and then it's forcing the operations to look at the budgets, to stay on track on the budgets, and then to drive costs or drive dollars back to that bottom line.
Absolutely.
Right? Because they're going to see a direct benefit from it. And that's really what you want in your operations. Right? One of the main things you want in your
All
operations.
aspects. Because, it's easy when you don't get bonus based off of your bottom line and, how we set it up, your EBITDA, right? Mm-hmm. It's easy to just say, oh, I'll just go hire that guy. I'll just make my job easier.
Yeah.
I'll go hire another staff accountant because you know what? I don't want to do that job anymore.
Yeah, and we see that. I mean,
Right? It happens all the time.
Yeah,
Next
we
thing you
see
know,
that.
we have a 4-year growth plan in this building, and we maxed it out year one.
Yeah.
Because
And you're not making any money. You're like, why am I not making money? Yeah.
Well, everybody's sitting on their cell phones half the day because there's nothing for them to do because we're overstaffed. Now they're going to have to think about it. So back to your question, I think that it gives you a good idea and it forces you to look at something that you normally wouldn't look at. Yeah. And I think it gives you to Eric's point, gives everybody buy-in and be like, hey, look, these are numbers that we all agreed on. Mm-hmm. So I can't get mad if I don't get a bonus versus how we were doing it previously. And most businesses I've been involved in, this is how it's done, is you think they're doing a good job based off how things are running. They show up every day. Right. And then they usually, not all the time, but sometimes they have to come to you and be like, hey, are we doing bonuses this year? How do you calculate that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. You just kind of make some shit up.
That's what we've been doing. That's what we've been doing.
That's what we've been doing.
For 5 years. We've been making shit up as we go.
Print the check.
Yeah.
How much is it this year? Well, what did we pay last year?
Yeah. And for most companies, like luckily you guys are in a position where you've got some good data, you've got a great team. This was an easy one to roll out. Some people struggle with that. What do we do? Because a lot of companies, cash flow can be tight on the bottom line. So you got to try to figure that out. But, we come in and help assess that because you might have a quality person and you want to make sure that they stick around with you, right? And how do you do that? Typically through compensation and bonuses.
Well, from the meeting that we had previously, it was supposed to be done by 12, and I kind of went over on that deal. But you guys are normal.
It's par for the course. That's
so,
okay.
but
Yeah.
to this point, man, we had great buy-in from everybody. We just had another quick huddle in there. We had 0 negative feedback. We had some questions because some people didn't raise their hand when they should have in the meetings. But overall, these guys are going to make a lot more money. right? And it's going to have a clear path how to do that, and which something I didn't have the skill set to put in place, but now I've seen how you guys do it, and it was in my opinion, it's going to help our company grow.
Yeah,
Hey, hold on. I'll say one more thing. The final piece of this, like the cohesion is great and everything that we were talking about is great. But another piece that he brought up in there that nobody said a lot about, and if you're listening to this and you're a small business owner and you're wanting to retain your key people, this is a very good method to do that, right? Retention is key, especially when you got an operator it's operating a multi-million-dollar company, right? It can be a little bit of a challenge that guy steps out on you, right?
Yeah,
Not saying you
100%.
can't overcome it, when we could overcome it, right? But at the end of the day, we should be incentivizing your people, and this is a very, very good method to do so, and it really helps probably retain those key guys, right? And it's a big deal for us, especially in growth, because you get one big key executive that leaves you. Now you're overcoming that while you're trying to grow. It makes it that much more difficult to meet our goals if we don't retain those individuals.
Well, and then only that, it takes a period of time to overcome it.
Yeah.
it's a
you gotta-
sting. Yeah,
It's not fun. The goal, I always tell my executive team, I hope this is your last job. You know what I mean? Let's ride off in the sunset. Let's ride a sunset together. They're older than us, but they might leave a little bit before or after. But the goal is, you guys didn't leave here because you were unhappy and I didn't pay you fairly. You guys left here because you had different goals and aspirations at this point in time, or you're fat and happy and you decided to move on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
another thing too. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say the last thing on that about like the cohesion and getting buy-in. A lot of times in like a high growth business, which is what you guys are in, getting that buy-in, kind of like lifting the veil a little bit and showing like, hey, these are all the numbers. This is everything. We just touched on that a little bit ago. Like some of your guys didn't know that. So lifting the veil, getting the buy-in, really having them understand how the business operates. The rising tide raises all ships, right? And that's really the plan that we rolled out for you guys. But a lot of people, they're kind of hesitant to, show them what's behind the curtain. And that leads to a little bit of distrust and maybe a little hindrance. When you guys do what the exercise you just did, you get a lot of benefit from the whole team.
Well, everybody thinks a small business owner is just making millions.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why our podcast is called
Chasing
Chasing it, yeah. You're paying them.
Not
you're not
pocketing,
chasing.
chasing.
Sometimes we make them and sometimes we're chasing them. But to your point is, if you guys are watching this and you own a small business, and it doesn't necessarily have to be small, it could be a new startup, which is crazy small, or something huge. Everybody thinks the owners are making just a fortune.
Yeah.
What they don't, to your point, Ben, once you unmask your finances, they really see, okay, this guy's taking a lot of risk and he's last one getting paid here.
Yep. Absolutely.
Right. And if Eric doesn't do his job and I don't do my job and our team does not do their job, they still get paid. We don't. Right. And in our circumstance, we PG all our loans. For you don't know what PG is, a personal guarantee means they come take your shit when you don't pay them back.
That's right. Yeah.
In
Very well
redneck
put.
terms.
Yeah.
So point is I think, when you show people your finances, the right people, you don't show everybody your finances.
Yep.
I think people understand, okay, we really have to operate efficiently and effectively to drive dollars to the bottom line. And
Yes.
it's not as easy. That's why most businesses fail. It's not as easy to manage cash flow and drive dollars to the bottom line and run an efficient, effective business. It's not easy.
No.
Well,
Well, that's why most startups fail. It's because it's hard.
And doing that, and I think allowing us to put this bonus structure in plan and giving these guys the incentives and the little to go do the right thing, right? I think, what I just told these guys in the room, and Eric heard with his own ears, is, I'm going to be able to drive more dollars to the bottom line. What's that going to do? It's going to allow me to go get more debt and grow, right?
Absolutely.
And that's one of our topics we want to talk about is, not only do these guys help do that, they can help secure debt and refinance your leveraged assets and whatever your add additional capital to your funding through private equity, mezz debt, whatever the funds may be. You want to hint on that a little bit?
Elaborate on that for us.
Yeah, I mean, with a lot of the clients that we're working with right now, when you first get in and start looking at their books, I mean, one of the biggest pieces is they're just going to the bank down the road, and whoever's going to give them money, they're going to take that money, right? So, and they don't know how to present themselves properly. They don't know how to present the financials properly. And so they go in there, they probably get taken advantage of a little bit, right? They're going to get a higher interest rate. They're going to get a shorter term on their debt facility. And so that really puts a strain on their cash. And so one of the things we do with a lot of our clients is we come in, we look at that. They'll have it typically with a few different banks or a few different truck loans and all that. And we try to consolidate that to help with the cash flows. If we can stretch that note, maybe bring the interest rate down a little bit, that really helps. If you're saving 5-10 grand a month on your debt carry, then that's a big deal. That's another body you can hire to help grow the business, right? And so that's one of the things we do. We have a lot of partnerships right now, both on the private equity and the banking side of the business, to come in and help those business owners that just don't really know what to do. They're great at operating the business. They just don't know this side of the business.
What would you say is, from a banking finance standpoint, getting money? What do you say, if you gave one piece of advice out there, what would be one piece of advice how a small business can go get financing and not just get raped?
I think the biggest thing is well, there's two pieces really, and we touched on one of them earlier. It's understanding your current finances and setting a plan that you can hit, right? So you want to be able to set a plan and prove that you can execute that plan, right? Because a lot of times what happens is a plan is set, or a lender is going to want to see a plan, and if you can't prove that going back, they're not going to have any confidence in that plan that you're putting in front of them. So they want to see that. You really got to put a nice plan together for the next year, make sure you can execute on it, and then also just show positive cash flows over the last year or two. A lot of times people, once again, they're handed a P&L printout from QuickBooks from their controller, and although the data is relevant, they don't really know how to read it and how to present that to the bank. So those pieces are important.
And maybe like an additional piece is that one thing that you got to understand the bank's perspective. Most people don't understand the bank's perspective, right? The bank has to be right 99% of the time. They don't care about the future. They don't care about how this piece of equipment's going to make you $10 million next year. They only care about the past. And if you can prove the future from the past, that's all they care about. So if I have negative EBITDA and like negative cash flow, and I'm going to say, hey, I need $1 million, they're going to say, no way. You pour that down the drain whenever somebody gives you cash. But if I can say, look, here's my plan. This is how I did it. I projected this was going to happen. Here's my forward look. This is my ask. The story becomes easier to tell. I can tell an underwriter why. I can point toward the future. But if you can't do that and you're just talking about the future, they don't care because they got to be right. Banks make all their money off being right. Their margins are thinner than ours, right?
Yeah, they don't. Let me tell you something. When you go sign a bank loan and it's about that thick and you have ADD like me and you look out the window about 19 times and you quit reading after page about 10.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, what did I sign up for?
And then when shit goes wrong, and they're like, page 254, the technical default, you're like, oh gosh.
Yeah,
this just got real weird real quick.
Yeah.
So having your finances in line, if you're a small business, don't be afraid to hire a third party like M&G Financial. I mean,
absolutely.
To be honest, and we have our finances in line. We hired them for other purposes. There's M&G's one of probably many out there that provide what you're doing, but we've had a great experience. If you do need another company to come in there, look at your stuff, help put programs in place. In this case, we hired M&G to help acquire companies and put specific bonus structures and review our finances. It takes the pressure off our team because I really don't want to have a controller and 3 more accountants.
And where are you guys out of?
Frisco, Texas.
Frisco, Texas, for everybody who's wondering.
So let's talk about one last topic, and then we'll move on. But let's talk about exits. Eric and I have been talking about exits on our podcast for a while now, and the reason why is we get a call every day from a private equity company trying to buy us out. How many of your companies do you see people are, what size, scope are people really lucrative to exit? Like, you see all the time. I got a text just a second ago from a guy saying, I'm ready to be bought out, and he's doing $1.5 million in sales. He probably doesn't have much value. In their head, they have a lot of value, but there's not really a lot of value there, in my opinion. What size does a company need to be to get the optimal rate of return for their time and their business?
Yeah, so on the sales side, obviously a lot of it comes down to EBITDA and past performance, right? And so with companies, as they grow, the EBITDA multiple grows. And so your valuation is all based on what your EBITDA is and the industry multiple that's driving that valuation. And so a lot of times as these companies grow, standard what you see is if you're growing and you're 3, 4, 5 million EBITDA, you're looking at a mid-single digits multiple. As you grow into those double-digit EBITDA numbers, you might start to get into double-digit multiples. But that's a lot of the driving factor, and that's what a lot of these smaller companies just don't really understand. And they might say, look, we're looking to exit in 2 years, and that's just what I want to do. That's the timing for me personally. Well, we put it on paper for them, right? And we say, okay, if you want to do that, you're still going to be at maybe a 5 or 6 times multiple. You might want to wait another year or two, get you that extra turn or two. And so, a lot of our conversations are with those owners about what their goals are moving into the future. It's start with the end in sight, right? I mean, do you just want to grow this company and run it for a long time, or do you want to sell it? And so the market is everything. The nice thing is we have partners that we work with to help, because you want to bring as many buyers to the table as possible, right? You want to have that bidding war. And so the one thing I would say is just make sure you understand the EBITDA and what the multiple is that you can demand at that EBITDA, and really use that when making that decision.
And one thing, we have our finances in strict place, but I've seen so many companies that we've acquired, their finances are chaotic.
Oh yeah.
We're almost putting a guess to their evaluation as much as they are, right?
Yeah.
Luckily for us, is we've been in the industry a long time and we can put a pretty educated guess to it. But I think hiring somebody like yourselves at a younger, if you're just starting out, don't be afraid to spend the money if you have it to get you put in place sooner than later.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that way, when you do want to exit, you hear about all the time these baby boomers. The last 2 companies we bought out were baby boomer companies, and they thought this value was there, and realistically, it wasn't. You know what I mean? They just had no idea their finances were so chaotic. They didn't understand, to your point, what type of market demands for EBITDA in this specific sector, and they had this. Everybody told them it was revenue plus assets, or whatever formula that was told at the bar or at the round table, what they thought they should get. But in all reality, when people are spending millions of dollars, they know what you're worth.
Yeah.
They're there for a reason. They're going to tell you. Now, if you don't believe them, go get another couple opinions, and more than likely they're going to be similar, if not close.
They're going to do the diligence on their side too, right? They have a team behind them that's looking at the same data you are, so you want to make sure it's accurate.
So that's been a huge part of mine. I always say, hey, let's figure out where we're going first, and then we can figure out how to get there, So you guys are helping with that. I think that you guys did. Today was a big deal for me personally, because I've been telling these guys I'm going to give them executive bonus structure for
I'm glad we could help.
for a year.
Yeah. And I think your executives are too. So
Oh, my gosh.
thanks all around. It's going to be a good
thank you,
Christmas
guys.
season. Yeah, absolutely.
So to end this podcast, I appreciate you. If you guys ever need help, M&G's who we use. We're going to continue to use them. So far, it's been a great relationship. I mean, they have our best interests at heart, in my opinion. They drove all the way up from Dallas. They're out of Dallas, and we're in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They've been up here no less than 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Working with us. They've been on multiple conference calls. They've answered the phone. I feel like they've been very honest and upfront. Yeah, they do charge you, but if they didn't, would you want to use them? You know what I mean? So they're a younger company. How long you guys been in business?
2019 was when we started.
20. Oh, for a while, a lot longer than I thought.
2019.
2019, same year we started.
Yeah. Yeah.
There you go.
So they're adding a bunch of different layers. Supposedly, you guys got some big
Yeah, we'll
future,
see.
big future.
Yeah, we'll keep that
ideas.
behind our veil for a little while. And we'll,
For sure.
We'll let out later, but
And but what we hired you guys, in my opinion, you guys did a great job, and I appreciate it. So,
yeah.
and
love
I
working
wanted
with
to have
guys.
them on our show because I thought there was a lot of insight that you guys gave us, and we've been in business for a while. We've been doing this. I've been doing this since I was 23, and I'm 37. But there's some times that you just have to hire people that know more than you, and in this case, that bonus structure was one of them. So if you ever need some help, call Ben and James at M&G Financial, and we'll put a link below with all their contact information. So if you ever need some help, call them.